Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Brew this evening. Everybody, I'd like to welcome Robinn Terry. Robinn, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Very good. I'm actually looking so forward to this episode. I'm starting to focus a little bit more on locations, and so I'm happy. I'm happy that you were willing to come on. I put up a post today reaching out and asking people who are own locations because I want to just start to promote, these hardworking people that are, same passions we have, and opening up your buildings and letting us come in and investigate. So with that being said, I'm going to shut up.
Oh, don't do that.
I'm going to be quiet because I want, everybody to learn about you. And you are in Illinois, correct?
Yep. Yeah, just central Illinois is where I live. Actually, I live about 2 hours west of Ashmore.
Okay. All right.
So
you
the road trip.
So you don't reside on the property?
Nope, I sure don't. I've got somebody else that does, though.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. What a cool gig that is.
Yeah, we just finished the house. We built a new house out there, and she's been living out there for not quite 6 months yet, but yeah, it's been close to 6 months. And
what a cool gig.
So yeah, she looks out the front door and front windows, and there's Ashmore.
That's awesome. Good for her. So let's talk a little bit about you first, and then can we just get into talking about Ashmore Estates? Beautiful property, by the way. I saw a lot of pictures online, and it's really pretty.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was back in its day, especially. It was gorgeous. I mean, it was some of the older pictures that I put on Facebook recently, and all. It's just, the building was just incredibly built, and just a gorgeous building in its day. And unfortunately, it's had some damages done to it over the years, and and it's where it's at now. But it still looks good. I mean, we've been keeping busy with it, keeping up with it, and trying to maintain everything we can.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and that's one of the biggest things I want people to understand, going to these locations. As a paranormal investigator, I'm thankful that, you open your doors and stuff like that to us. And yes, we pay money to do this stuff. And, what people don't realize is like now you're becoming a part of that place's history because you're helping to preserve it. You're helping to restore it. You're helping to keep it going and open for everybody to continue to go into these places,
Yeah, without the people coming out there and doing it, I mean, these locations could not be open. We've been pretty fortunate there. I spent a lot of money on that place the first year. In fact, I dropped about $75,000 the first year I bought it just to get it up where people could come in and investigate. And and so you're trying to recoup that money because you're starting off with zero, and drop a bunch of money to begin with, and hope that you can get that back. And it's a hobby. It's not a full-time job at all. People call me, and it's like I'm on the phone with my real job, and it's like I let it go to voicemail sometimes, and they think that that's the only job you have. It's like, yeah, unfortunately, that's not the case. So I have a real job as well. So I can't. Ashmore doesn't pay for itself that well.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So how did you get to where you are right now? Like, were you into the paranormal and did you seek out a location because it was haunted?
Well, kind of a little bit of both. I kind of got into paranormal, but I was into doing a haunted house stuff. We did a haunted house. I live in it's another story, but I live in an old movie theater, and
Oh, cool.
we built a house inside a movie theater, and
Wow.
so we were doing a haunted house here, like the typical haunted attractions. And I had people that would come in and wanted to investigate one time, and so they came in, investigated, and the house and the building and everything, and they're like, yeah, we don't really think we got anything. I was like, oh, that's fine. So they called me back about 2 weeks later, said we need to talk. I'm like, okay. So they came in, and this is before I was ever involved with paranormal whatsoever. And so they did. They came in, and they had some incredible Class A EVPs. I mean, some were so clear you could have swore it's them talking. And they're like, nope, that's what we caught in your building. So I'm like, I need to get part of this. I need to get involved with this. So it's about 20 years ago when it started. So I got involved with it and started working with that team and bought a lot of equipment, did a lot of things like that. And then as time went on, we decided to close down the haunted house. After about 10 years, Illinois changed some laws. So we decided that's it, we're done, and we're going to close it down. So
Okay, I just heard. Did you hear something?
I saw something kind of move.
No, I heard like it's. I gotta figure out what time it is right now. Let me say 6 minutes. I'm gonna go back to 6 minutes. I thought I heard like maybe I'm tripping. I don't know, but I thought I heard like a woman's voice, like a whisper.
Well, the building here is haunted.
Like I think I gotta go back. I don't know if anybody else can go back to 6 minutes and listen and see if you guys can hear something. But I thought okay. I'll have to do that. But
anyway, there's nobody. I'm in my office.
Yeah, somebody else said they heard something. I don't know what that was. That was so weird.
Susan said she did. So
okay. All right, sorry about that. I did not mean to interrupt you, but
no, you're fine. So
so loud in my ear. Yep, yeah, Bill said there was something. I don't know what that was, but it was so loud.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, especially if it was here. And
that's interesting.
They said the building's haunted here as it is, and that's another show altogether. That I'll drop that on towards the end to let you know what that's all about. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
Okay, so all right, I'm going to try to focus. Okay, it's really weird.
So, we closed the attraction down, and I put all our props up for sale, and I got a call one day from a guy that said, "Hey, I'd like to buy a lot of your props." He's like, "I'm opening up a haunted house in Indiana." So, like, yeah, come on over. So he came over and was going through the basement and picking out all kinds of stuff that he wanted. And so he's like, "I'm really sorry to bother you on a Saturday. Have you come out here, to your office and everything?" I'm like, "I live in the building. It's not a big deal." So he's like, "Oh, that's cool." He said, "Any chance you could take me around and show me, if you got a house here? That's just, I'd like to see it." So I told him, "Sure." Excuse me. And so we were wandering around everything, and I went upstairs, and we have 2 floors we built inside the house, and we're on the 2nd floor. And I asked him, I said, "Hey," I said, "you said you're building one in Indiana." I said, "We're at in Indiana." And he told me, and I said, "Why Indiana?" And he said, "Well, I got one in Illinois." He said, "But we're closing it down." And I said, "Oh, yeah, which one do you own now?" And he said, "Ashmore Estates." I'm like, "Oh, I'm real familiar with that property. In fact, some of these props that you wanted to buy came from Ashmore Estates." And I said, they were there before you bought it. And so he said, "Yeah." He said, telling me about it. And I said, "Well, what are you going to do with Ashmore Estates?" He's like, "I'm going to sell it." And my wife's sitting across the room, and she's like, "Oh, shit." Like, so I'm like, because I kind of, some people call me a hoarder. And when it comes to the paranormal stuff, but so I end up talking to this guy. It's like, I need to go out and look at that. And so we went out there and looked at the property and all, and it was honestly, it was a mess. If you go back to the pictures I have from like April of 2014 on our Facebook page, most people would look at that and say, "No way in hell," because it was such bad shape. I mean, there was no roof. There were no windows. There was no water. There was no electricity. There was junk laid everywhere, all over the place. And Ashley, she's the one that lives on the property. I get called a paranormal hoarder at times. She's calling me
Ashley has to come on. That'd be cool to hear her stories.
So yeah, well, you don't want her telling stories about me. So. But so we ended up talking to him, and we went out and looked at the property. And it was kind of one of these things where I'm walking through it, and I always tell everybody that I'm as sensitive as a rock. And I mean, I'm not sensitive whatsoever. Nothing ever affects me. Nothing gets to me. My friends that are close to me, and that know me real well say, know that when I tell them something happens to me, or I felt something or heard something, they know it happens, because I'm just not that way. I'm not going to tell people, something happened and it didn't happen. So, but for some reason, when I was walking on the second floor at Ashmore, there was something that was kind of like telling me, help our building. And they weren't worried about helping themselves. I think the people that were the spirits that were in the building were perfectly content there, but they didn't like the building. And
Hmm.
the building was in bad shape, and it was just, it was horrific. Ashley was out there when I first bought it a couple of weeks after I bought it, and she knows. But it was, most people would have sit there and say there was really no reason to buy it. It was so bad. And I'm like,
I mean, but because we all do it, right? Me and my 7 girlfriends, we all sit around and talk about, oh, we got to, like, so such and such is for sale. Let's buy it. But you never really think to buy, even with it in the condition that it was in, that you're stating,
yeah,
because
it was,
it
this
would be
was bad.
so much money. Yeah. Go ahead.
We filled up 6 dumpsters like the first month I owned it.
Yeah.
These were dumpster sizes that you could put a car in.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we filled them up like crazy. And actually, there was one paint room. I think they probably took out close to 100 gallons of paint out of that room that were just old paint cans that had to get rid of. So, it was just bad. So, but there was something on that second floor that's just wanted me to help the building. And I have a friend of mine that told me I have an entourage following me around all the time. And he said, your entourage was probably telling me, hey, you should see what he's done to our place. Because the building here I own, the theater that I live in, was pretty much the same way. There was no power in the building when I bought it. I couldn't even see. I was looking at the building with flashlights,
Like,
if I
how do
wanted
you,
to buy it or not.
to me, it's so crazy that you literally you got it to where it was at. Like, because it just seems like so impossible, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, it's amazing that you did that.
Now I'm kind of headstrong with a lot of stuff, and if I pick my mind to it, it's like it's going to happen. And it's like now, when people tell me that that can't be done, it's like, huh, watch, and so we get it done. But I had a lot of help, and in the paranormal community, because I had people that were contacting me and telling me, hey, if you ever need any help out there, let me know. And so I finally just set up like work days out there, and we started doing it and started, setting these dates up. And, there was one day I had like 20 some people show up, and I didn't even know most of these people.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Well,
they just came out and helped.
When you bought it, Ashmore was already known to have paranormal activity happening in it.
Yep. Yeah, they did. They, the guy that owned it, not the guy that I bought it from, but the guy that owned it before that, he was doing some investigations out there, but some of the stuff they did, he was charging a lot more. He was charging more than I charged. He was charging about $150 more than I charged, and there was no power in the building most of the time. And the roof leaked. There was no windows. It was in bad shape. And when I bought it, he was telling me, it's like, oh, you can get that much. I'm like, no, it's not. That's too much. And so I'm not doing it. So I lowered the price down quite a bit, and we started doing the investigations. But I was kind of at the mindset too when I first bought it. I bought it May of 2014. And I told everybody that was basically wanting to book out there, I was like, I'm not booking this until it's safe. And right now, it's not safe. I said, and by being safe, I don't mean structurally, but there was just junk laying everywhere.
Right.
Who's going to go around the building that there's no lights, no power, or anything, and there's so much crap laying around on the grounds and the floor and everything. You can trip over it, fall over it, broken glass, boards with nails and all that. I'm like, no, it's got to be cleaned out before I let anybody in it.
It's crazy. Well, you guys were doing all this cleaning out and stuff. Were you guys having a lot of experiences? Because one of the theories is if there's stuff being remodeled or renovated or fixed up or whatever, it tends to uptick activity, right? That's always been something that a lot of paranormal investigators believe.
Right. Well, we did have some, and not as much as some people might think, but there was one day up on the third floor, I was hooking up electrical. It was probably, I think it was in May of 14, because I was just kind of got the building was cleaned out, and I started running electrical wire and electrical lines in there. And there was something up there that didn't want me in the building. And how you get that feeling that you're not wanted and you need to leave. And it was almost like getting stronger and stronger. And I finally said, if you guys having a party later and I'm not invited, that's fine. I'll leave. So I took off about 2:00 in the afternoon and headed down to get some material to work on the next project, and called my wife to tell her where I was headed down there and all. And And she's like, why in the middle of the afternoon? Because it's usually something I do like at 6 or 7 o'clock at night because I'll work all day in the building for 10 to 12 hours. And I'm like, well, there's something there that just doesn't want me today. And so I came back to the building, and after that, nothing ever happened. And of course, you get this, you get people that tell you like, well, there's probably some type of dark energy that tells you to get out. And I'm like, no. I said, I look at that. Maybe they thought I was going to do something wrong or wire something wrong, and they were trying to save me and wanted me to stop. Or maybe there was going to be a problem coming in the building, and they wanted me to make sure I left.
Yeah, that's
like,
a great way to look at it. I love that.
Yeah. So I look at the bright side of it, not so much the dark side of things.
Absolutely.
But then we've had other times when we were working on the roof one day, and I was up on top of the roof, and my son came up on the roof, and he's like, okay, I got a problem. I'm like, what? He's like, somebody just walked through the freaking door. I'm like, what? He's like, the room down at the end. He said, there's a room down there, and I saw somebody walk in the room, and it's like, there's not supposed to be anybody up here, so I was going to tell him, hey, you're supposed to be outside. You can't be up here. And I walked down there. There's not even a wall there. There's not even a room there. There was an open door. It was a door from a prop from a haunted house. He said, there's a blank wall there. And he's like, but I saw somebody walk through there. And this was in the middle of the afternoon. And Andy's not in the paranormal at all. So when he tells me that happened, it's like, yeah, because he was pretty freaked out. And so I'm like, okay. And I said, well, actually, that used to be a staircase. I said, so it's probably residual energy going down the stairs where that door was right where the staircase was.
Wow. Yeah, and that sounds amazing.
Well, his stepdaughter was out there that day, my granddaughter, and they were sitting out in the car because we didn't want any kids in the building because it was, it was rough. There was a lot of stuff still there. And she was sitting out there, and she's like, Mom, why can't I go in the building? And she said, because they don't want any kids in the building. It's like, well, how come she can go in the building? It's like, who? It's like that little girl that comes out the front door. It's like, how come she be in the building and I can't be in the building? And she saw a little girl come out the front door a couple different times.
Wow.
And wanted to know why she was in. There was no little girls on the property.
Wow.
And she was the only little girl in the building or on the property, and she was sitting in the car with her mom. And
now, are these other witnesses? Were they? I know they're younger, but were they paranormal? Like, were they into it? Were they like into the paranormal side of it, or?
Well, and my son's 30 at that time. He's like probably 35 years old.
Okay.
So, so it wasn't like he was a youngster.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, his stepdaughter was probably 8 years old at the time.
Okay.
But most of the time that people are older, they're all adults. And I've heard voices, and I don't go out and post stuff on Facebook and things like that because I figured since I own the place, to me it looks like you're self-promoting, and I don't do it because you can make that stuff up just try to draw attention to your property. So I don't do it. But I've had a lot of experiences with hearing voices when I've been in the building working. I was up there shooting pigeons one day, and I heard somebody walking up the back stairs, and I stopped and walked over to the stairway, and I'm like, somebody down there? And didn't hear anything. And then I heard voices saying he's up shooting pigeons. And so I walked downstairs to a friend of mine that was sitting out the front door. I'm like, hey, I said, who you on the back stairs talking to? He's like, nobody. I haven't left here since you went upstairs. So make sure nobody walked in the building. Well, there's somebody in the building knows I'm up there shooting pigeons because I just heard their voice plain as day say he's up shooting pigeons.
Wow.
So, and most of my experiences have always been during the day because I'm in there working during the day and all. And that's one thing that we really try to push out there a lot is doing daytime investigations. And, we have so much activity during the day. It's crazy. I mean, it's like, why bother why investigate at night? And stay up all night when you can go out and investigate during the day.
Interesting. That would be
and
an
everything.
Interesting experiment, like to be up all day and then I'm sorry. Yeah, because usually it's the opposite, right? We're up all night, and we sleep, but then to just be up all day and then just sleep all through the night and just see the difference in what you get,
I always tell people, think about a location like when it was the most active. And if you're going to go out and investigate, when was that location active? And with Ashmore, it was active probably at 6 a.m. until about 9 p.m, because that was when the poor farm, would have been popular. And then the hospital, when they changed over to a hospital, the same situation. Probably 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, they woke up for breakfast, and they, the nurses come in and start jabbing you, and then at 9 o'clock at night, they pretty much like turn the lights off, and you're headed to bed. So
right.
That's why I think it's probably the most active.
Did we didn't get into really the history of it, did we?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Yes, I love this. I love these kind of shows. This is great. All right, so these are some of the stuff that's happening. So all right, where were we at? Hold on. There is a question. Have you gotten any names to check the history? So that, I guess we could start. I guess we could talk a little bit about the history, and then we can get back into some of the paranormal stuff that goes on.
Sure.
You know what? Can I just say one thing though? Like, I hear what you were saying about like you don't put stuff up and everything. There's some things that I think are good. Like if you have audio, because audio to me, and this is just my opinion. People can disagree with me. I don't care. But audio to me, EVPs, audio, they're really one of the hardest things to dispute. You know, I think that's the hardest thing because those things are really hard to explain when you capture audio or even if you had cameras and you capture video. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I feel like those kind of things are okay to share because it's not so controversial or, you know, obviously it's fake or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I also do understand what you're saying. But I do think it's good because I do know some people that, you know, have security cameras on a lot, you know, and if they capture something, they'll share it or you could always do it just to get people's opinion, you know?
Yep. I've done some of that before, especially if there's somebody been with me. Like I shared one video one time where we heard footsteps going up the stairs and lights coming on, motion lights, and there's nobody on the stairs. But there were groups there at the time. And so there was witnesses, so to speak. So I wasn't worried about it because it's like, I'm not here by myself. So it's not like I faked this or did this or that. Like there's other people that are here with me, you know, right now. So I share that. But yeah, just coming out and telling just like the story about the person walking up the stairs, there was nobody on the building but me. And so anybody can make that stuff up or even EVPs. I mean, I ran a haunted house. I can make my voice change to however I want to do it with the equipment I've got. So so I just like, nope, I just stay away from it all. And it's just easier, you know, and that way, so we don't have to worry about it. There's nobody can say anything about it because we just never do it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good approach to have. I mean, to, you know, let them, you know, people get, you know, conclude their own, you know, opinions and stuff, you know?
Yeah. I share stuff with people that I know or in person or something like that. So that, you know, we'll do it. I just don't do it public.
Yeah.
Just
I don't
they
share
want
a
to hear
lot either, by the way. I don't share a lot. I would, but I don't, you know. So, and I don't know if I have a particular reason for not doing that, but you know, it's good. It works out, right?
Yep. You had a question. I forget.
Yeah.
There it is.
Have you got any names? So I said this is where we're going to go into the history.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to kind of give you some. In fact, I'm going to write his question down so I don't forget it. Just to kind of give you a brief synopsis of the history of the location there, because it could be kind of go into depth at times. But it started off, there was another building on the property originally, and that building caught fire. A little girl had her dress caught fire on she's getting ready for breakfast one morning, and her dress caught fire. It caused some extensive damage to the building. It did not cause enough to tear it down, but it did cause some damage to the building. She actually perished as a result of the fire and the damages that she incurred. So the building, about 30 years after that one was up, a lady, and I find this very incredible because of the situation where women back in 1915 or so didn't have the clout that they do today. Mm-hmm. But this woman that worked for the state of Illinois, and she came down and inspected the property and said that this building is such bad shape that it needs to be torn down and rebuilt. Because the people were living in their own feces. They actually said that the animals in the barns were in better living conditions than the people. So they tore it down. They built the current building in 1916, and it was a poor farm. And for people that don't know what a poor farm is, it's a location where you were sent if you didn't have money, you didn't have anywhere to go, didn't have any place to live. They sent you there. You had to work on the farm. You had to help maintain the farm. There was about 300 acres on the farm and about 20 outbuildings, you know, with all the buildings around there. There was a church on the property. There was a school on the property and just a lot of different buildings. So they maintained that, and you lived there until you could either financially be able to move on or maybe, with a family or something like that. So that kept going until about 1959. That's when the Public Aid Act came out and changed everything around. And so it was, they changed it at that time, and it became more of a hospital to help the elderly and things like that as well. and then they kind of turned everything around and started making a psychiatric care facility, and which is what it ended up being until its final days, that it was shut down. But they added on to it in the 70s, like 79, it's finished off, and they added on to it. They put more rooms and all in there, and it became a psychiatric care facility. So that's what it turned out to be at that time. And but it's been maintained for quite a few years. I mean, it's over 100 years old. The building there has had a lot of uses. Somebody was going to turn it into a residence, but he couldn't keep up with the vandalism. He just about put windows in, and somebody'd break them out, and people would break into it all the time, and cause problems inside of it.
That's a shame. That's like I don't understand why people do that. I mean. No. I mean, like it sucks because on one hand, and I don't know, Penhurst has a lot of graffiti, all over the walls and stuff, and it kind of adds character, right? But when you have an estate house, I feel like that just isn't nice.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, our walls were filled with graffiti, but it was because the haunted house painted it on the walls.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot you guys had the haunted house.
Yeah, I took it all off. I went in and just took material in there and just cleaned it all off as much as possible. So it's pretty much all gone now. There's a few things that I left up that were just kind of some interesting pictures or some words. There's my favorite saying in the whole property out there is, as you walk down at the bottom of the front stairs, there's somebody wrote on the wall, it's like, these walls can talk, open your mind and listen. And it's so true of the property. I always tell people, they're like, where's the best place to go in the building? I'm like, you're in it. I'm like, it can be anywhere. And I said, why don't you just find a spot you feel comfortable, sit down, and let the building come to you. And a lot of times that's what happens. You just sit there and you'll start hearing voices. You'll hear things at that point in time, and it happens.
Yeah. So how long did it take you guys to actually get the place to where you thought it was suitable to start letting people in?
Well, I was pretty fortunate because we had so much help. I was hoping I could get it open and ready to go by September. That was my ultimate goal. Was I bought it in May of 2014. I was hoping by September I'd have a roof on it so that we could at least let people in. Well, by June we had the roof on it, and we had everything cleaned out of it and done before September. We started actually letting people to come in and investigate and all at that point. So we continued working on it and doing more stuff to it, but it was cleaned up enough that we could let people in.
That's awesome. We had the building come to us where the dining room was.
There's a lot of stuff that comes to the dining room. I don't know if Ashley's still there or not, but she can contest to that.
So all right. So the history, going back to the history of it, Jonathan had asked about, like, have you gotten anything to collaborate with, like the history or anything, like names or anything like that?
Yeah. What we do there is, I do things a little different than a lot of places, is if I can't prove it, we don't talk about it.
Okay.
And so, we know Joe Boxham died in a train crash, or he was hit by a train and they brought him back to the property. He died. We know that. We've seen the obituaries for it. There's his tombstones across the street at the Poor Farm Cemetery. So we know that he was part of it. And then we also know that Elba Skinner, who died in the original building from the result from the fire, we think she's still in the building. I say that we think she's still there because I don't think there's any way to prove who these people are that you're talking to or things like that. It's just my personal theory. And is that you can't, you don't know for sure. They can tell you whatever they want to. If you believe them, that's one thing. But I did have a couple out there towards the end of last year, that the guy came out, and one of the other girls that helped me out there, Terry, he came outstairs, and I can't remember the person's name that he picked up, but he said, hey, we were coming across and we got it on our one of our boxes here, our spirit box. He's like, this name came across. We asked what the name was, or asked if anybody's here with us, and this name came across. He's like, I had a first and last name. And he let Terry hear it, and she's like, well, that sounds pretty cool. She's like, I don't, that name doesn't ring any bells, have anything. It's like, I don't know. It's like, we've got a list of people that, some that died or some that lived there and things like that, but I don't know if that name's on the list because there was so many people that came and went over the 100 years the building was there.
Right.
So, but he went out and he Googled this guy's name in Ashmore Estate, or he Googled the guy's name in Ashmore, and it came back that the guy died at the Poor Farm in Ashmore, and he gave a date and everything. He found the obituary for this guy that said that the guy lived at the Ford farm or the Coles County farm, and so it was pretty cool because he found the whole obituary and everything.
Oh,
So it was that was an interesting one. Probably the more interesting. James, that's right. Yeah, Ashley would know because that's right. It was a relative, or her she has a relative last name the same as, or this guy's name is the same as one relative. Yeah, James Green. But and I went out myself, and being the skeptic that I am, sometimes don't always. I'm not gonna say I don't believe people, but I like to verify it myself. So I
right.
went out and looked it up, and I found the guy's obituary myself. So it's out there. It wasn't like something he just kind of made up. I didn't think he did anyway because he was there that night. It's like, why go to all the hassle of trying to make up an obituary for somebody while you're sitting in the building investigating?
Right. 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 That's interesting. So now hold on a second. There's people commenting. I'm seeing if there's any questions about this, what we're talking about. Robinn's got a great location. The last time this is Tim, was there, I had a lady talking to me from down the hallway, and I was all alone in the building. Disembodied voice. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love disembodied voices.
Oh yeah, we catch it a lot out there. And I was out there one day with Richard Estep and Brad Kling, and we were out there, and we were just standing, and he was upstairs and I was downstairs, and there was a whistle that came through in the building, and Richard yelled at me. He's like, "Robin, is that you whistling?" I'm like, "Nope, thought it was you." And he said, "Well, check with Brad." So I yelled down to Brad. It's like, "You whistling?" He's like, "No, I heard it too." And we all heard the same. And it was the guy. It wasn't just like a whistle like come through a window. It was a tune. It was somebody whistling a tune. It was like, a few notes. It was quite a few notes, really. I mean, it was enough that he thought it was me whistling. I'm like, "Nah, it wasn't me. I don't whistle." And especially as good as what we heard.
Oh, hi, Brad. Brad's here.
There he is. Speak of the devil.
I know. Oh, I love Brad. That's awesome.
Brad had some experience. Brad had probably one of the, and I should say, the coolest experiences ever out at Ashmore, in the boiler room. He was down there, and he was doing the thing that Brad Kling doesn't do, and that's provoke. So he was down there getting a little irate with somebody and trying to taunt them a little bit, and he had the temperature. He had sensors down there, and the temperatures dropped about 25 degrees in the boiler room while he was down there.
That's awesome. I was just thinking, yeah. He said, "I speak loud." First of all, I speak loudly, but here I remember when I first met him and Barry, and Brad probably doesn't remember this because I was like, newly into the paranormal and whatever, but I'm literally 5'3" and I weigh 115 pounds, and I'm in between these two guys, and I was like, I felt the safest I ever have in my entire life.
There you go. Yep.
Right? I mean, they're just big guys, and if I was a ghost and they came in, I would be like, "Okay, hi, boo."
Yeah, Brad did an episode called it was Strange Curiosity, but it was called Some Call It Home, and it's an excellent episode. I'm not sure if it's out there right now where you can see it or not. I think it may be on Amazon Prime. I think it's like a couple bucks. Somebody have to watch the whole series or something. But yeah, it was an excellent episode he did out there with Ashmore, and they had some strange experiences in the building, including one that's not like you've ever seen Brad Kling. So
yeah. Oh yeah, I love them guys. They're awesome. So you get it up and running, right? And you have so what are some of the most, has anybody ever given you any photographs? Or he said Amazon. It's on Amazon.
Okay, yeah, Amazon Prime. Yeah, I thought it was on there. You can pick it up and watch it there. Some Call It Home, Strange Curiosity, that Brad did out there. It's an excellent little documentary about the property.
I'm gonna watch it. Definitely gonna check that out. I'm sitting here listening to you, and I can't believe that I never was introduced to Ashmore Estates, prior to the last year, because it sounds like, it's a place that I would absolutely love to go. It's got a meaty history, which I love that. I love places that just are layered and layered and layered with, documented factual history, and a lot, no matter what it is, I just love it. And are any of the other buildings still up, or are they all down and it's just the one main building?
It's just the one main building now. They tore down an old barn 2 or 3 years ago, and yeah, it was torn down because it was getting really bad. And somebody mentioned there's so many poor farms. Actually, every county in the state had to have a poor farm, so it's not like it's the only one. It's like, yeah, every county had to have one. Most of them are no longer around because they were built so long ago, and they've just deteriorated over the years. But yeah, it was yeah, that's what every county had one.
So so what are you? I had a question in my head, now I forget. My ADHD just went pink. Somebody is asking a question. They want to know how much is it to investigate?
We charge $550 from 7 p.m. until 10 a.m. for up to 12 people, and that includes the use. We've got 3 bunkhouses out there. There's 4 beds in each one. You can spend the night out there, and so they're basically for 12 people.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, we charge $325 to do daytime investigations for up to 12 people. And then our public events that we do out there, we have public investigations. We charge $55 a piece, and we only sell 12 tickets. I don't like to overfill a building, and that's right. You have to bring your own bedding. We haven't turned into a hotel yet, so but yeah, so we have to bring your own sleeping bag or something like that. But yeah, we've got them all set up. There's heat, air conditioning in each of those bunkhouses. There's no heat or air conditioning in the building except for the team room. There's heat there, but the bunkhouses are heated and air conditioned.
And running water and stuff like that. And I mean, can people? Is there a place to take a shower, or is there just like
Now during the spring and summer and the early fall, we've got there's running water in the building. Right now there's no water in the building because there's no heat in the building, so obviously it would freeze. But we do have a shower out there. There's 2 bathrooms in the building. There's one outside. It's not a portable toilet. There's one out there right now for the teams that are coming out there, but there's a regular bathroom out back. But we do have a shower there. There's a stove, sink, refrigerator, microwave, pizza oven,
okay?
the gas grill, charcoal grill. So there's a fire pit out there that we just cut down a couple of trees, so we'll have plenty of firewood, over the next
Nice.
year or two. So
That's so fun.
yeah, so we've got we put a fire pit, and we've got there's 4 huge picnic tables out there. So what I like to do, and since I investigate, I kind of thought like my wife does not have anything to do with it, but she enjoys the history of the place, so she'd come out sometime and would just go through the locations, and then she wants to either go home or sit in the car. So when I built this, I thought, it'd be nice to have some places out there where people could, that like Norma that doesn't want to investigate, could just kind of sit back and enjoy. So we put the fire pit out there so people can sit around that and have a fire. And the bunkhouses all have TVs and DVD players in them, and the big bunkhouse has a Wi-Fi, smart TV in it. So somebody can come out and sit there, and there's a recliner in there, there's a full-size couch. So yeah, it's like it's not quite a B&B, but
I'm with Joe. I'm like the more you're talking, I can picture myself just chilling in Illinois, sitting back and loving it. I mean, it doesn't, and like during the day, that would be awesome just to be like in the place. Like I would love to just be there and just like I'm on vacation and have recorders up and like just see what happens, see if we get any interaction, like just being about the day.
But one thing that we've done too is we put, since I'm kind of into the paranormal myself, I got to finish it off, but I've started we've got the wires all ran for all 3 floors. So basically, if you got a camera system you're going to put in, you don't have to you don't have to run wires to the 2nd and 3rd floor. You got to run your own wires to the 1st floor, but the 2nd and 3rd floor, we've already got the wires ran, BNC and Ethernet cables. So they're already out there. So all you got to do is just plug into them and you're ready to go. So it makes it a lot easier and, to do something like that. But, people come out there and we get a lot of people come out and they'll rent Friday night. Then they'll be on there on Saturday during the day. Then they'll be Saturday night, and they'll take off on Sunday morning. They'll come out there for a couple of days because there's enough amenities out there that they can hang out there for the weekend and just have a good time and enjoy themselves while they're there.
It sounds amazing. Are you there right now?
Nope, I'm sitting in my office in Auburn, Illinois.
Somebody said, "Are you going to run through the house for us?"
Oh, no, can't do it. Sorry. But I think I did throw some videos up, maybe on the Ashmore Estates page when going through it. But yeah, I've done some videos where we walked through the building and everything, and done some of that in the past. But yeah, I'm actually in my insurance office. I'm an insurance agent, which is kind of weird because I'm not the typical golf course person. That's not me at all. And so yeah, I either play with cars or play with paranormal. And but yeah, so but yeah, we're sitting at home in the office right now.
That's awesome. So, if you don't mind me asking, like, do you have family that helps out, and you know what I mean, like your wife, or you know what I mean? If you don't mind me asking, I'm not trying to get too
Yeah,
personal, but I mean, I didn't know if they were also involved and very supportive, and they work and they do all this stuff to help out the house, because the paranormal, what I do, takes up a lot of time, and my boyfriend isn't into the paranormal. So, it kind of like is, we're fighting for time with each other, and you know what I mean? So that was more where my question was going.
sure. Now, Norma's not into paranormal, so she has nothing to do with the paranormal side of things. She has been a big help out there, especially when we built the house. We were out there for almost every weekend for close to 2 years, doing that, building the house out there. And then she's helped me out at the building, doing stuff out there at times. And if I need something done and she needs the help, then she comes out and helps me with it. I have basically 4 girls right now: Ashley, Terry, Abby, and Holly, that come out and help a bunch. They're out there basically doing most of the investigations and doing all that type of stuff for me. And Ashley, like I said, Ashley lives on the property, and she's kind of like the daughter I never had.
Aww.
And yeah, so she's out there, and I always end up sending her a little drift. Hey, I need to find out what size this is, or something like that. If I'm working on a project, can you over measure this sometime? So she probably hates sometimes living out there because she's like, Daddy's got me running more errands. So
I'm
so
sure
she's
she doesn't hate living out there.
so she's running that.
I'm sure she is very happy.
But and she enjoys it. Her son's out there with her and her
Yeah.
boyfriend, and but yeah, she enjoys it out there, I think, and or she wouldn't be there because it's been a while. So and
Yeah.
yep, she gotta say nice things or not, or she'll probably walk out on me. So.
She said no. She said no. I love it.
Somebody asked me if I ever bring anything home.
Yeah.
Not from Ashmore, and but yeah, nothing that I really know of. I think that there was stuff that might have tried to keep me from coming home at times, because for a long time I've had some heart problems over the years, and whenever I was leaving Ashmore, my heart would go in AFib, and so I'd be pulling out of the parking lot, my heart would go in AFib almost every time I left. And I finally sat there and came over one day in the building, and I just pretty much like, hey, would you guys leave my heart alone, because I'm leaving, but I'm coming back. So just stop it. So and it was kind of strange because I talked to Charlie down at Waverly Hills, and he had the same problem for quite a while. He'd leave the property when he got to the gate down at Waverly Hills. As soon as he left, he said his heart would start causing issues on him. So I think a lot of times what it is they don't want us to leave. I don't think they care anymore if I'm there or not. So compared to what they used to do. So yeah, I think it's I think, in fact, with me, I think a lot of times now when you walk in the building and I'm working on something, I think the spirits in the building are like, it's just him. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So, and they don't even pay attention to me anymore.
I don't know what this means. She said, "Did you see anything for your heart?"
Oh, I've been to cardiologists.
Did you see anybody? Okay, gotcha. So, but still, Norma is her name.
Yes.
Okay, so Norma, she, so even with all of this now, I mean, it's been years, where there's been people coming out and investigating and getting evidence, and you're having experiences. Has she had experiences, and now she like some, I can't imagine, like most people when they have an experience, they're like, oh, that was really cool, and like I want to do more, or whatever,
She's had experiences here in the building, not in Ashmore, but she's had experiences here in the building we live in.
Oh, okay.
So.
Oh, she's saying if you saw spirits.
Oh, no, she's not had any experiences really out at Ashmore. She's heard a voice one time. She heard somebody say, she heard a female voice say Robin. She was the only female in the building, and she came downstairs and she was like, so what girl's yelling your name? And like, well, that's the dream of every guy. I said, but I have no idea who you're talking about. And she's like, I just heard a woman yell Robin. I'm like, oh, well, you're the only female in the building. She's like, yep, I know. So yeah, so she heard a voice out there, but she always says she has a bubble so that she tries, not to have any experiences, And out at Ashmore, I don't really think she's had too much. If she has, she hasn't really said too much about it. But yeah, here at the building it's different.
Huh. What would you say would be the most, I don't know what word to use, the craziest piece of maybe evidence or something that somebody presented to you, a group that has come in, that maybe was like, picture or audio that you heard or something.
Mhm.
That's something that sticks in your mind.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that's really super crazy. Brad's experience that he had down in the boiler room with the temperature drop was pretty crazy because he had data loggers down there and he recorded it and he caught it. I mean, 25-degree temperature drop in June. You could see his breath,
Yeah.
down there. It got so cold in that room. And in fact, he said there's something. It's like his back was just freezing, like there was like like ice on his back. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was probably a pretty crazy one. We've had a lot of people have had a lot of EVPs. Surprisingly enough, we don't get a lot of information that from people when they have experiences because they just either they don't send it to you or they just don't bother. They just don't bother to send it to you for the most part. Um, every once in a while when I'm out there, what I like to do when I'm sitting on the property is I'll tell people that that I'm there and I'm like sitting outside. I'm like, hey, if you guys have any experience in the building, do not tell me where you were, but tell me what your experience was, and let me see if I can tell you where you were in the building. And so I would say probably 75% of the time when somebody comes out and tells me they had certain experience, I can tell them where they were in the building.
Yeah.
And just because other people have had that same experience, and it's pretty funny in a way because people are shocked when you tell them like, well, this is where I think you were. I mean, the building's 15,000 square feet, so it's pretty good size. There's 3 floors plus the boiler room area,
Wow. Yeah.
and so yeah, so I can pretty much tell them where they were.
But you also have the outside, the property.
Yeah, there's 3 acres outside, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes outside, happens outside that people don't investigate the property. In fact, I just posted something on Facebook earlier today or yesterday, I forget which day it was, about do you investigate property when you're out on, when you go there, do you investigate the outside? And some people say they do, although I hardly ever see anybody out there. Only since Jack Osborne's episode that he did at Ashmore do we see people outside now investigating in one particular area, and when because of the cadaver dogs and everything, so they're out there a little bit more.
Yeah. That was gonna say like so Jack Osborne, I didn't see that. I didn't even see that, so I had no idea Jack Osborne had been out there.
I'll have to look back and see what that was, Pete. I don't remember offhand. And
yeah, no, I don't think anybody would dig.
well, Jack actually that episode, it might be what they're referring to, is they brought cadaver dogs out there and they hit on in a spot. 3 dogs hit on a spot where they said there was a body buried, and they wanted me to dig. And I told them, in fact, it was kind of funny in a way because I told them, I said, I don't know. I said, I'm gonna think about that. And so then I thought it's gonna be kind of disrespectful to dig up a grave and and dig up a body. Plus, she told me they could be like 50 feet around here. I'm like, well, that means I got to dig up, quite a bit of the yard back here looking for this body. And I said that I'll think about it. So I told him the next day, I said, I got to call into a friend of mine right now. I'm going to ask him what his opinion, what he thinks I should do. And she wanted to know who it was. I said, Chip Coffee. And so they're like, oh, Chip? I said, yeah, I know him well enough to give him a buzz and ask him what he thinks. And he was kind of like when he called me back, he's like, yeah, I'm kind of like you. I think it's disrespectful to do it. So we just never did it. And I've got it picked out. I got to do it this year because I've got a memorial bench we're going to put out there, basically for all the lost souls that were buried on the property. If there was more than one, we don't know for sure. If there was other souls that were buried in the property that there's no grave markers out there for, and just kind of remember those people that were there on the property.
That's awesome. I love that you do that. I love everything that you do for the place. I mean, it really. I mean, I really, I don't know how far Illinois is from New Jersey, but I mean, you made me fall in love with it, and I haven't even been there.
I'm going to guess about 10 hours or something like that. I know when I go out to St. Albans to see some friends out there that own St. Albans, and it takes me about 10 hours to get out to St. Albans.
Yeah, we're so far on, there's a lot of cool places over there on the other side that, the East Coast is cool, but there's so many places on the other side that are awesome.
Oh,
What do you,
there's places all over the country that's which is nice because they're spread out everywhere. And in fact, when the guy from Destination, uh, not Destination Fear, Project Fear, Destination Fear were out there, and they came out there, and Dakota called me. I think it was 2015. He wanted to come out there and shoot. This is before they ever started the TV show. They didn't have a TV show at the time. And I said, it's cold because it was November, and he said, that's all right. We're from Minnesota. We'll come out and shoot. So they came down. I talked to them quite a bit, and they shot an episode out there, which was actually the first place they ever went to. And it was Ashmore Estates. So they called me at the last year, or about 2 years ago, I guess now, and said, hey, we don't know if we're going to get a season 5, so we'd like to come out to Ashmore and make Ashmore the last place we ever shoot. Because that was the first place we ever shot. We want to do it again. So that's what they came back out and shot there again. And they actually caught the whistling that Brad and Richard and I all heard out
awesome.
there. But yeah, they caught that, and they recorded it and caught it live. They heard their own ears just like we did.
That's cool. Has anybody else been out to Ashmore?
Oh yeah. I mean, basically all the bigger shows have Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, Jack Osborne, and then Dakota and his Destination, Project Fear now, Destination Fear. But we don't talk a lot about the G episode because there was so much demonic crap that supposedly happened out there. So it's like, I just kind of blow that off. It was before I owned the property, and so they weren't there. I did turn down one TV show that wanted to come out there, and they're no longer on. So I'll tell you. I talked to all these guys and told them why I turned it down. It was Tennessee Race Chasers, and nothing against those guys whatsoever. But at that time, back when they were doing haunted asylums, they were doing the old capture the ghost, capturing a ghost, and then they were trying to. So I'm like, no, they still doing that. I talked to the producer, and he said, oh yeah, they're still doing that. I'm like, yeah, then I don't want them out here. And he said, what? And I said, I don't buy into that idea. I don't believe it. I don't think it's right. I said, I don't want anything to do with it. And they said, well, they'll make your building famous. And I said, I don't want to sound cocky, but the only reason you called me is because the building's famous. And I said, but yeah, so they ended up not coming out. But I talked to all of them individually then as I went on and told them, and they didn't know it because the producer's the one that sets it all up. And I said, I turned you guys down, right? He's like, what? I said, yeah, you couldn't come out there. And I said, I didn't want you out here. And I told him why. And Doogie explained to me, he said, he said, our whole idea was to try to move energy. It wasn't to capture a ghost. It seemed you could contain energy and move it, someplace else. And he's like, it was just an experiment we were trying. And he said, it wasn't capturing a ghost, which is what the producers wanted to do. So,
right. That's awesome. That's some good stories.
That Mike and Chris will be back out there this year. And they were actually the first ones because nobody has ever done paranormal celebrity daytime investigations. And I talked to Mike and Chris after they got done doing a nighttime one year. I'm like, you guys need to come back out. Let's do a daytime. He's like, what? I said, do a daytime. He's like, we never done one like that. I'm like, why not? I said, stuff happens during the day. And they said, well, we understand that. And I said, there's people that probably don't want to come out midnight investigate. I said, but they may come out during the day. So I said, let's try it. So they did, and it's turned out great. Now they're doing, April and October this year. We've got those two. I think this coming up will be their third daytime investigation they've done with me.
That's awesome.
So now they're doing them. You were doing daytime and nighttime. We do them both. And but we're doing it all the time now. So
they're coming on my show. They're Wraith Chasers. They're coming on my show coming up like February 28th, I think.
Oh, okay. Which ones?
Mike
and Chris.
Yeah, Mike and Chris, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So, yep. You'll have to just ask them about their experiences at Ashmore because Mike's had some. They actually told me that they had more experiences during the day than they did at night.
Yeah, that's interesting. But you're right. I mean, it sounds like it could be a lot of residual stuff, and it sounds like, that was mostly when the daytime activities were occurring. People were, it was always busy.
Yep.
Always busy there,
But the first group I had to come out there to do a daytime, I talked them into come out and doing it, and they come out and set up. And the first EVP they caught, they were setting their equipment up, and one of the guys knocked the tripod over, and they caught an EVP and said he's breaking stuff. And so
Right.
And
Well, you
yeah,
have a mixture. You have a mixture of intelligent and residual, you know?
oh yeah,
Have you have you noticed a difference in the I hate have you noticed a difference within the building, inside the walls, you know, with anything, um, from when you first bought it to now where you fixed it up? Like, do you find that you feel more appreciated, if you will? Or do you find
yeah,
that maybe, you know, like, is there a difference in the energy? I'll just say the word.
yeah. I think it's as weird as it may sound. It seems to me like the spirits in the building have a tendency to be active. And I hate to try to make it sound like we're trying to sell a building. And I don't mean by sell the building, but sell the idea of come out and investigate. But
Right.
because in fact, I even question sometimes when groups come out and tell me night after night after night how much they caught, how many experiences they had, all the evidence they caught, and everything. I'm like, why do they do this? I say, how can they come out and have this type of experience every night of the week? That I mean, there's some nights that we're not some of the bigger locations that are booked every night of the week, but there's times that we'll have 6 or 8 nights in a row that we'll be booked, and they've all had experiences. I mean, I hardly ever have somebody come out there and say we had nothing going on, except for the guy that walks in. It's like, I don't believe any of this crap. I don't want to be here. Da, 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 da. And then he comes and says, he had nothing going on, nothing happened. I'm like, well, I wouldn't talk to you either if I was a spirit. So I don't want to talk to you as a live human. So, but I think because we've done so much for the building, I think they appreciate that, and then maybe that's why they do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
We
yeah.
still get a lot of the get outs and the FUs and stuff like that. I mean, Nick Ruff caught one that's like, it's like, he got one that says, God damn it, get out. And so it was plain as day as Class A EVP.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that stuff is early morning when that's what I'd be telling somebody they walked in my room at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah, that's true. Or, I always theorize that, like, sometimes because I tend to try to look at the positive side of things too, as not taking everything so negative. But, there's been times where get out's been caught, and it's like, well, what if they're saying, like, get out the deck of cards, let's play, or get out,
mhm,
you know what I mean? Like, get out the whiskey, let's have a drink, but we're just
yep,
not hearing the whole sentence. You know what I mean? So it doesn't
right.
always necessarily have to mean exactly, we don't know.
I think sometimes you can tell by tone. So like
Absolutely.
some of these are pretty harsh at times,
Yeah.
but I've had people that have caught EVPs. I had a group that was out there and they caught an EVP. It says, nice to see you back. So
That's cool.
they've been out there quite a few different times, and they caught an EVP. It said, nice to see you back.
That's
And it's
cool.
like, wow, it's big. They recognize that these people are back again. And a friend of mine, Mike Couch, was in one of the rooms out there one time, and he had a spirit box with him, and he was asking, he's like, I'm out here a bunch. Do you know my name? And it came across, said Mike. And they
Oh,
said, well, since you know my first name, do you know my last name? And it said Couch. And he's like, I'm out of here. And so he walked out of the room. He's like, why? That's what you want. He's like, yeah, but it's like, I'm not used to hearing both, hearing Mike
yeah,
and Couch on a spirit box. That just
yeah.
doesn't make sense. So,
That's cool. That's awesome. So we only have a couple minutes left, but can you just kind of tell everybody, like, what do you got coming up? Like, you said, I know you say, do you still do the Halloween thing? Do you still do the haunted house thing? And, like, also, do you have any, you said, some events, people have events out there and everything.
yep. Now we don't do the haunted house out there at all. I mean, there's nothing out there. There's no Halloween props, stuff like that. Every once in a while, a little few decorations, but nothing drastic. So yeah, there's no haunted house props.
That's
There's nothing that I always said. As long as I own the place, there never will be. And so we do that. But we've got some events coming up. Check our website, ashmoreestates.net, and we've got everything listed on that, as well as our Facebook page. We put it out there on that as well. So that's the best thing to do. And since you are just about out of time, I'm going to drop this on you. And you can decide if you want me to come back sometime and talk about it. But we live in an old movie theater, and we had a night where we had a group came through investigating, and they picked up on a spirit in the building that was a former serial killer, and by the name of John Wayne Gacy.
Shut up.
Yeah. So we had.
Oh, wait a minute. I mean, like, this is my show. I mean, we can still talk about that.
So, no, we got, we'll just kind of tease it, it's one of those typical teasers. So you want me to come back sometime and talk about John Wayne Gacy at the Haunted Art Theater? Let me know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can give us a little bit.
I did.
Please.
We were doing a paranormal investigation one night, and some friends of mine who were psychics went through the room through the building and started doing some stuff, and they picked up on a few things. And yep, see, Ashley knows. And they picked up on a few things, and it turned into a lot bigger than we expected. In fact, I was telling Brad, I was down having dinner one night with Brad Kling, his wife, in San Antonio, and I was telling him about it. And they drove 16 hours up and did an episode. In fact, it's Strange Curiosity, Killer Coincidence on Amazon Prime. So if you really wanted to check it out beforehand, you can do it right there. Or, in fact, I just got them today. They're out there in the lobby. Richard Estep wrote a book called The Ghost of Gacy about the building.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
no.
A lot of coincidences with that, and it's one of those. In fact, when I've talked to different places and I talk about it, I tell people, like, if I was sitting out in the audience where everybody's sitting, I think this is total BS. But when it happens to you and you put all the situations together and what happened, it makes a lot of sense that it could have happened. So
we definitely will have Holly. I promise. We're gonna have it set up before the end of the week. That sounds like a cool. Yeah, I would love to hear about that for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty bizarre, and it's still going on today. So, Killer Coincidence is the name of the episode. I think you just asked Killer what. Killer Coincidence is the name of the episode. It's Strange Curiosity. I think it's episode 3, and Ashmore Estates that Brad did was episode 5.
And I gotta say, I'm gonna watch them because I love Ghost Lab. That was one of my other shows. I watched Ghost Lab and I watched Ghost Hunters, and they were so. I love the Kling, like I love Brad Kling and Barry. Like I just think they're great, and I respect them as investigators too, So.
Oh yeah, I was on the phone actually talking to Barry today. So yeah, he called me today on something we're working on. And but yeah, they're great guys. I have a lot of respect for them and what they do. They're no BS type of individuals, and you can trust whatever they tell you. Take it to the bank. And but yeah, when Brad heard about this and the episode that he did up there, I always tell people watch the episode before you read the book, because that's why Richard wrote the book, is because of Brad's episode. But Brad's experiences he had up here were just crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was, I mean, he actually got an EVP when he was asking about John downstairs. He had an EVP that said, "Go upstairs, Brad." And so they were talking to him. And
cool.
It kind of ran one of his camera guys almost off. It was like he had experience that he had to leave. He had to walk away for a while. He was so freaked out. So,
that's
but yeah,
awesome.
it's pretty interesting episode. And but yeah, it was fun for them to shoot it. I was actually got to be part of that one. I wasn't part of the one with Ashmore Estates. I was out there when they shot it, and I can completely understand Brad's thoughts were, he's like, I don't want you in it, because if you're in this and you're in the other one, people are going to think you're like a paid actor to be on these shows for it.
Yeah.
So he has kind of the same thought process that I have. It's like, people sit there and think that you're faking stuff, and that wasn't the case. It was just happened to be that it's like 2 good times, and he didn't do it at the same time. He did I forget when he did Ashmore, but they drove up and back for that one, and they came up one other time and did they came up and did the art theater, and then they did Ashmore then later.
Yeah no, I get it. I know everybody's so critical a lot, you know what I mean? And so I understand totally.
But yeah, let me know when you want to talk about some true crime and paranormal. We'll tie it together. And
that would be great. So, let's set that up. I'm going to message you, and I'll message you tomorrow. We're setting up.
So, yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to put Ashmore Estates on my bucket list. I definitely want to get out there for sure.
Well, I hope you do. Yeah, it's we'd love to have you come out. It's a lot of fun. We've had a good time with it. And and I think that's why we say, when you asked earlier about people out there and all, like, that's why we came up with Some Call It Home, because I think people that come out there always come back. We hardly ever have. I had people come out there and say, we really didn't get a whole lot, but we'll be back because we had a great time. We enjoyed the place, and what you do it. So the girls keep it really super clean before investigations and all, and I think that's so much too, because some of these places are dumps, and they're just obviously in it for the money. And so we try to keep everything up clean.
That's awesome.
In the right spots, the way it should be.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate everything you do. And to the girls that work hard and help you out and, help out to get it, keep it going and clean. thank you. Hopefully you guys are watching, and I want to say thank you. And hopefully me and my girls will be able to. I'm a part of Paranormal Peaches. There's 7 of us, and
There
we
you
do
go.
all kinds of haunty things together. Maybe one day we'll be able to truck out there and at some point, and plant our peaches in Ashmore Estates.
Yeah, hit a click. We got a peach tree out back. It's not even peaches out yet, but we do have a peach tree out back.
Yay!
So it's a calling.
we planted 2 peach trees at Hinsdale House on the property there.
Okay.
The property outside
Right.
is also, while you were talking, it was like kind of like sounding like similar, you know what I mean? Like it sounds similar, which is cool, that we have the outside and the inside. Look, here's one of my peaches, peach trees.
Yeah, I talk to Dan Class every once in a while. So,
Yeah.
yep. In fact,
Awesome.
I'll be with him about a month up at another event we're doing.
Awesome. That's great. All right, Robin, I am going to let you go, or I'll keep talking to you because you're an interesting gentleman and have lots of great stories. So
I've heard the interesting part before.
The True Crime Paranormal Show. We're setting it up.
All right. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon.
All righty.
That was great. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. Thank you, everybody that supports Robin and came on for Robin. And I really appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully, you won't be a stranger anymore. And thank you so much for everything. And I'll see you guys next week. Love y'all.